I'm going to lead this over to our experts. Just wanted to welcome everybody officially. Today, we're talking about emails to engage and inspire. And so while we are presenting the slides, go ahead and share in the Zoom chat your name, your organization, maybe where you're at, or something fun you did this weekend. It's just always nice to get everybody together and hear what everybody's doing and experiencing. And then with that, I'm gonna hand it over to Jen Shang. Thank you so much for being here, ISP team, and let's get started.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Jordan, and welcome everybody this morning. Come to this last of the 4 sessions of the Fundraising Essentials. Charlie, if you go to the next slide, we can see that today we're going to talk about techniques you can use in emails to structure your email, to recognize donor impact, to plan your timing, and to create subject lines and calls to actions that motivate giving. All of these are techniques that you can use to potentially help you with your bottom line of how to use email to increase your revenue, raise additional money for subscribers, and think about how you can design your welcome series well. The next slide, Charlie. The next one, please.
Is it not showing?
Yeah, it is showing. You go back to the full screen mode.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, keep to the next slide. Yeah, so today's webinar is recorded on the 14th of July. The content might shift as time passes by. So that when you rewatch the video, just keep that in mind. If there's any questions about Colorado Gives, you can use the support at email address, or if you have any questions directly for the Institute team, you can use the Here For You email on the right. Go to the next slide, Charlie. Today is our last of the 4 sessions, as I said. Like before, the next slide, Charlie. We will have 7 days of discussion forums at the conclusion of our webinar today. If you haven't had a chance to sign up for it, feel free to enter your name, your email in the chat now. Our team member Kate can add you to the discussion forum. So it's going to start from 9 a.m. this Friday on the 17th and goes until 5 p.m. the 24th. Any questions you have about this session, you can ask there and our tutors will respond to your questions. In order to join the webinar, go to the next slide, please, Charlie. You will need to look out for an email that starts that has the email address notifications as instructure.com. That's how you can add yourself into that discussion forum and read other people's responses. Go to the next slide, Charlie, please. In that discussion forum, you'll be asked what goals you attempt to achieve and why you think you can exceed in achieving those goals by applying the learning from today. So whenever you go through any slides today, write down any tips you can add to your list to achieve whatever goals that you think is important for your email to achieve this year for your Colorado Gives Day. The next slide, please, Charlie. All of the content that we share during these webinars, they are built upon the much longer educational programs we offer in the Institute for Sustainable Philanthropy. At the Institute, we study the science of philanthropic psychology, that is how people love. And so the language we teach in how you use in the emails, they do not only grow giving, but they also grow the love that your donors have for your organization, which for us is the true sustainable source to increase giving in the long run. So the science will suggest words that you use, And the application of the signs in the words can be applied in appeals, emails, thank yous, campaigns, everything that you do, not only for Colorado Gives Day, but also your and via appeal. So any participants of this webinar, you can get a 20% discount for this course. You're welcome to click the link now on the screen or send email to the same email address here for you at philanthropy-institute.org.uk to ask any questions you might have. And of course, our team member and myself will be here today during the 90 minutes to answer any questions you have too. Without further ado, I will hand it over to Charlie, who will talk about our 4 topics today.
Thank you, Jen. And also, I can't express enough how much the certificate in fundraising, boosted my own career and is just absolutely amazing results. So definitely consider it. And if you do have any development, we're all smaller organizations, but if you do have any development money, it's really well spent there. Yes, we're going to talk about emails. It's changing rapidly right now. A lot of smaller, really dedicated lists. So you might not be seeing the same trends, but we're going to talk about a lot of that. But you have 4 seconds really in your email for people to decide if they want to read it. So it's important to go through these things. So in the anatomy of an email, you're looking for an emotional architecture. Lead with one person, one problem, one solution, a consequence, not a cause. Your cognitive load reduction, so donors decide in those 4 to 8 seconds on one clear action, not multiple asks. So when you do newsletters, it really depends on your organizational goals. So often, if you're a theater or a nonprofit in performance arts, obviously putting out multiple things that are coming up, but we would count like a schedule as a single thing. If you wanted other things like what's going on behind the scenes, trying to reduce the newsletters into a more singular understanding, they're more likely to bookmark that as well, or save that for the schedule and whatnot. So trying to reduce that a little bit. Social proof is super important. We're seeing that a lot. Sarah from Denver gave $50 yesterday. Beats, we need your support. Support is the enemy. I'll probably get in that. Support's a really challenging word because it's not something you can visualize in your head. It's not concrete. And then urgency without manipulation. Real deadlines. Colorado Gives Day. You have a great one here. Real impact window, real constraints. So 95% of emails or nonprofit emails are ignored, but email still returns 36 for every $1 spent, and that $1 can be calculated as time amongst your organization or helping with acquisition for those emails. Okay, and then just really basic stuff, right to an 8th grade level because it's scannable. You see like listicles, which are all the things listed, on classic BuzzFeed or something. People like to scan with headlines. So making sure it's super readable. There are tools out there that you can use to, copy paste in your email and ask what grade level, and then we'll flag what words might be challenging or just sentence structure. Be concrete, real people, real numbers. If they can't picture it in their head, or we are story people, we like to picture it, then it's not going to really super sink in. Don't be vague. I think that speaks for itself. Inspire curiosity. This is super important. This is something you really want people to think about. Make it about them. It's really easy to get into that trap where we talk about the organization, what we are doing, but you have to always think about it as a partnership. It's what you're doing. You're the vessel for the fulfillment that they need in their life, right? So it's a kindness to ask them for money because they want that fulfillment. People feel good when they help. So it's really about them in your emails. It's about them in a lot of your communications, and things that you accomplish are because of them. You can't do it without their funding, right? So always making sure you center the donor in a way that makes sense as a partnership. Keep it human, friend to friend. People are used to getting those huge marketing emails, but this should feel like it's coming, from somebody that cares about you. Um, and be shameless for your cause. I said your org is of the vessel for them to feel great. It's not wrong to ask for help. Thinking about a friend that was in a bad place and didn't ask for help, it makes you feel awful. Thinking about a cause that you could have helped and you just didn't know about it, that's not a good feeling. So you're really truly giving a gift when you ask for people's help. So in talking about
There,
that, oh, sorry.
there's a question in the chat you might
Yes.
address now because I don't think it's going to fit later on in the
Okay.
presentation. So Maria says, this may be an early question, but will be addressed later. But do you recommend less words and more images in a newsletter? Or do words help to better describe an upcoming event, numbers, etc.? Asking because sometimes images are blocked and wondering if that takes away from the email.
It depends on the images. Are they truly necessary? Are you creating words that give concrete vision, or do you need that image to create concrete vision? If you're helping people see what's going to happen, I think they're really helpful. I would keep it down to 2, 3 image tops, and it's really great if you have a paragraph, image, and then paragraph. You want to keep your emails. We're seeing about, it really depends. Some organizations, like some readers want like long emails, and some want to keep it under 600 words. So looking at that and always thinking about mobile. So a single sentence can be a paragraph, because that when you're reading it on a screen, tiny, people are checking their emails as they're watching TV and stuff. So don't try not to have a paragraph longer than just 2 sentences. I know that seems crazy and not like it was, but really thinking about that mobile. So keeping that short and scannable image, and then, having those, any scan like schedules and things like that are just so great for people to see, and it's so concrete and thinking about that. And then there are ways to make it click and it automatically goes into their reminders, or right into their calendar, I should say. So they're really great stuff. And maybe we can talk about that in the discussion forum if you let us know if you want to know about that. I don't know if I put that in here. Okay, so traditional versus identity-based. So the traditional, thank you for your gift of $150. And identity-based, looking at your compassionate heart is changing lives. So that's much more feeling-based, much more validating for people to know that they're compassionate and that they're seen for their compassion, not just their wallet. Affirming identity, because you are someone who is really good. Connect to values. Your generosity reflects who you are, and showing that impact, concrete outcomes from their gifts. So trying to think about, and it's a wording is important here. That's like when we're talking about social services, hunger is often a big trigger for people that they really want to help hunger. So even if you're fundraising generally, you can say like your gift helps something like this. And that's an important distinction. So if that's what they are connected to, it does help like that. And all of your services combined does help, obviously, one stacks upon the other. So don't feel like your goal is to make them feel good. If you gave, it was a very specific campaign, obviously you want to keep it within that, because they gave towards that, but a lot of general ones, looking for what people are most connected to. And there's some segmenting there that's more advanced, but really, really helpful if you have capacity. So looking at their true self, the caring person underneath their busy, busy life, acknowledging that they took the time to read that email and make a gift. So like that's, time is precious. We only have a limited amount in our lifetime. So always acknowledging time as well is really, really nice. The generous person they're becoming, their aspirational self. So, what if you ask them, what do you think of people that, take their time to volunteer on the front lines, whatever they are, they'll say something, that's aspirational for themselves. So it's nice to learn those words. Um, their connected self, so who they are when they touch what they care about. Really, really valuable to think about who they are and like they're this caring, incredible person just taking the time. We can't all volunteer our time. We don't have most people don't have enough time, but time is money. So they are giving of themselves and just taking the time, that little bit of time, even if they can't get there. Celebrate kindness, care, and compassion, moral identity. So donors give again when giving confirms who they are. Every email is a mirror that shows them their best self. So in moral identity, how donors see themselves, this is something you can ask. People love to be asked about themselves. People think surveys, like no one's going to answer. People want to talk about themselves. Nobody asks them enough questions about themselves. People want that affirmation that you care. So looking at what are the top 5 words that describe you as a person, and what are the top 5 words that describe you as a supporter. You can use as a supporter. There's if you're not getting enough of a difference, there's, asking people, in animal welfare, what do you think of people that go in and rescue those animals, like right through the front doors, because then you can really lean into something that is their aspirational self. But describing yourself as a supporter is really, really great to know what they're trying to become. So across all organizations studied, people answer with their moral identity these most the common words are caring, kind, and compassionate. So instead of support, then you're looking at, you're a supporter, you're a caring person, you're a kind person. They're not just a supporter. That's how they see that. How they want to see themselves, and they want to be acknowledged for that. So looking at how that might look, as we near Colorado Gifts Day, I just want to pause and say thank you. Your kindness has carried so many older adults through another year of appointments, errands, meaningful moments because of you. And like that, this is something that, if they're involved, maybe you're sending this out to a bigger list that maybe they hadn't quite gotten involved. You can say because of people like you that take the time to get connected and thinking about becoming a deeper relationship. Rides become friends and independence becomes something to celebrate. On December 8th, you have a chance to do what you do so naturally. That's really, really, a part of what they want to think as their self. You don't just give, you lift, you make ordinary days extraordinary. Don't be afraid to steal a couple of these things and then make them your own, of course, to your organization. PS, always important to keep PS. Generosity carries love forward. People want to see themselves as loving, and then having that donation link. So keeping this around that really stewardship, and then adding in a soft ask. There's nothing wrong with that.
So the last, Charlie, I'll just land on some comments on the last slide. In the last 3 slides, you listen to how Charlie talk about when you write emails, there is a transition from focusing on the impact to focusing on a person. And when you focus on a person, it's not just about who they are today, but who they can become in their aspirations. It's not just about how they are as an individual, it's about how their giving can connect them into a community that they can't otherwise connect to. And it is also about connecting to what actually matters to people, which is their sense of moral identity. These three pieces of learning might sound quite ordinary. They are actually based on a very large body of research evidence to show that if you can consistently use this orientation in your communications, and you can consistently appeal to people's aspirations, and you can help people connect to a community of people who are just like them, you can actually indeed change people's sense of who they are into someone who has a lot more capacity to give to your organization sustainably. When we track organizations and donors with 3-year tracking of how much they give and how they describe themselves, you can see in the data how these descriptors change as the years go by. And if you, the previous slide, Charlie, please.
Oh,
So in this first email that you saw, that you see, say, your kindness carries us forward. I don't know how many of you already write in this way, but what you see here are people from your own community. These are their graduation project from their last copywriting class last year. So if you don't write like this today, it is possible to write this 4 weeks later by the time you complete the copywriting class. This is the kind of evidence and the kind of way of writing that we teach in that optional copywriting class. It is possible for you to change how you write if you intentionally pay attention to the way that you frame almost every sentence of yours, and you intentionally choose your word to connect to the person and help them experience that community that they are part of. So if you go to the next slide, the next 3 slides are all examples created by your cohorts, by your colleagues from last year's copywriting class, where they not only talk to people about the identities they already live, they talk to people to the identities they can potentially live. So when people give to Colorado Trout Unlimited, it's not that they are already a river champion. Yes, they might have been, but if they join this community, they really can become a river champion. But they don't talk about this in the abstract. They talk about this by relating and connecting to people's lives first. Remember the first time you caught your first trout? That can be life-defining, identity-building moments. And then invite people to put themselves back to in those moments where the Colorado mountains, fresh, cold waters, and help them experience a sense of being blessed in this moment and in this environment. So if you continue to read read this message, eventually what you will see is that what people are invited to give is not just a gift to save a trout or a gift to an organization. On the right-hand side, when you read to the part about the simple truth, it says, when you support Colorado Trout Unlimited, you aren't just protecting an ecosystem. You are preserving the moment for every child who kneels by the shore. You completely transform people's giving experience with your words. You bring their memories to today and into a community in a way that only giving can make possible. That's life-transforming work that you can do with your donors and with your community. If you can consistently practice this for 3 years, what you are building is a community that has a deeper source to sustain much bigger giving much longer. On the next slide, the next example is to really showcase what is that new identity and that new community that this particular organization is creating. Well, in this case, It is about how alternative lenders can help immigrant entrepreneurs. But who are these alternative lenders? They're not just bankers. They're the people who see what others miss. So if you read the subject line of this email, it's an email that directly speaks to the most beautiful part of those bankers' hearts, where they see in those immigrant entrepreneurs that others miss. It calls out the most aspirational aspect of their identity right from the start in the title. And that is what you would want your communication to do with your readers. And then you affirm that, look, you see those people and we see you. While traditional lenders see only credit scores and collaterals, you see potential. And that's who you are. And you are saying, look, we see you. Your partnership means we can say yes when 17 banks say no. When it's confirmed that you are the banker, you are the kind of people believe the American dream on the right-hand side on the top column, and you tell them you see what they do and you see them. In that email, in and itself, you are growing the love that they experience by simply reading that email. So that email in and of itself is the good you do in this community. The success of this email is not necessarily only measured by how much money it can bring in today. The success of this email is measured by whether you helped your reader feel in that moment that you see them. Because if they feel that, that is love felt, that is love grown. And you have done that in your email. And that's what you want to do with your Colorado Gifts Day. It is a day of giving, but it's also a day of loving. Whatever you write about that day, your goal is in your writing, people experience love. Love is your purpose in each email. Yes, money follows, but the money follows is not the end of why you write to people. You write to people because you want to love them first. And that's the philosophical foundation that all our certificate programs are built on at the Institute for Sustainable Philanthropy. We see the growth of money in and of itself, not necessarily the purpose of giving, but the growth of love in and of themselves is both the means and the end of why we're doing what we're doing every day. And then finally, the final example that says, imagine a place where you don't have to hide the best parts of you. And that is just beautiful, right? Because this is from the Special Olympics, where that's how they want your community to feel. Their community is a place where people don't have to hide the best part of them. And they live on the value that a lifetime of inclusion means I never have to worry about having a place where I belong. I'm guaranteed family for life in this community. It's a value-based statement about that community that donors are invited into becoming part of. So they're invited because they believe. They're invited because they are part of the family. They're invited because they want to guarantee that that family is there for life. Those guarantees can't be made with just cash giving. So during their Colorado Gifts Day, what is raised is a new monthly gift with a match. But it is not just the transition from one-time cash to multiple time giving. That is not the ask, and that is not the fundraiser's job. The transition is you give once, you give a little piece of that place. But if you give monthly, you guarantee a family that stand on value. So you ask yourself, what is that family own organization? What is the value that I want to guarantee for my own people? And that is the essence of your regular giving asks. Yes, match can boost it, but match can't boost something that you don't clarify on your own for your own organization. Those thinking process about how to create your fundraising case of support is covered in week 2 of the certificate program. The whole program is exposing you to all the underlying principles backed by evidence that we teach in how you can select the techniques you use in choosing each word. So have a think about it. If this is the kind of writing that you want to begin to adopt in your Colorado Gives Day campaign, think about whether it's worth spending some time, invest in yourself for 4 weeks to get to know the evidence behind the writing and sharpen your skills in copywriting. Because as far as we have seen in our evidence, this way of writing does not only increase giving, which sometimes can go to the doubling of giving within 6 to 8 weeks of your Colorado Gives Day campaign. It grows love and it changes people. And that's what truly matters. You will create a community that is more loving, and they stand behind your mission to back you. And it feels really good when you know people are standing by you and with you. Thank you for giving me the time, Charlie.
Thank you. Sorry, John, I stepped in on your section. It just got on a roll. Okay, so plan your email timing to stay consistent without overloading supporters. Now, you might think that overloading supporters is more than one a week. That's not quite it. There are, especially in end of year giving, it's quite a few emails that are very, very successful. So there are 4 email types, and let purpose set your Colorado Gives Day communications. So looking at this, the 4 A's, which really help you kind of set here. Acknowledge, thanking, stewardship, community building. The ask, of course, is anything that's asking them to give of themselves, and that can be as much as a signature, keeping those focused, donations, volunteerism, obviously ask. Advocate, proving the need, why you exist. So this is really about talking about why your organization exists and why partners like them are part of that solution. And of course, algorithm. So, and that means, so in the cadence of your email and beyond, all of your communications can be kind of boiled down to these. And kind of a perfect goal to go for is 50% ask, 25 and 25 of acknowledge and advocate. And that's part of the algorithmic. So making sure you're doing some acknowledgement in between those asks. If you just do ask, then people start to feel like a wallet. So making sure that you're reminding them of proving the need, on why your organization is there, and acknowledging them for being amazing people, and all the community that also believes that this can be amazing. So if you can, I would really think about, if you're doing social media posts, this is a really great rhythm to think about as one after the other. So if you're posting every day, you would do it, acknowledge, ask, advocate. You may think that's crazy to do 2 asks a week, but that's proven to be a really great way to think about it. And it's so hard to think about what you're going to put in your social media, but if you follow this rhythm, you'll see an improvement. So looking at the aligning with donor identity, so looking at the 4 parts of an ask. Identity affirmation, you've always been someone who cares. Value alignment, this is another chance to live those values. Concrete outcomes, a gift of $75 protects 5 acres of critical rainforest habitat. So something, and that might be the concrete outcome, might be a single family that has helped uh, change, and that can be a real family or kind of a composite of different ones. And you can put that in the PS saying, this is an example to protect the privacy of our people. This is an example based on real stories. And testing proves that that is just as effective as saying like a real concrete person. Of course, it's nice to put a face to the name, or if you can ask people if they don't want their faces, hugs, or they're not, you can't see faces, hands, holding hands. There are certain things you can do to protect identity that are really important. We want to protect clients in a lot of these areas, but if you can, using those faces, joyous outcomes of critical rainforest habitat, obviously, people, any kind of people that are engaging in protection is really amazing, even staff. An identity challenge is you've never been someone to turn away when the planet needs protecting. So making sure they kind of challenging that kind of who they are. A great ask expresses who the donor is. Of looking at purpose and key elements, educate supporters, no ask attached. So this is that advocate, position donors as insiders. If you have any behind the scenes video, a simple like 3-sentence email with a screenshot of a video that just says play, like has that play thing on it. I'll click through. Maybe you have an embedded donation form at the bottom of that, but people love to click through on videos because they're so easy to consume. Connect discoveries to donor values, share behind the scenes content, and show what's stake without donor support. So obviously why you exist and why they are only, you only exist with their support. So the test, does it clearly demonstrate the need for your services? Does it clearly say you exist because there are real outcomes for why you exist? In the cadence, monthly or quarterly, making sure you match your capacity so that a rhythm, if you're emailing more than once a month, obviously that's more, trying to get that in there. Advocate emails make donors feel like experts and insiders. Acknowledge. There's many types of acknowledgement, and that can be a lot of ways. So instead of thank you for your generous gift of $150, thinking about your generosity today was no small thing. It was a moment of kindness. We hope it returned to you threefold. So swap
I love
transactional
that they
phrasing for,
create a
oh,
moment. Oh, I was just going
yeah.
to say, I love that they create a moment there. It's not that they're
Mm-hmm.
they're literally telling you they're creating a moment. And I saw that in some of your other examples as well. Um,
Mm-hmm.
is there,
Yeah.
well, I'll let you keep going. I just wanted to point out that they didn't just use the copy. They literally said, "Hey, you're creating a moment." So I think it's, this is that grade reading level of like, oh, it doesn't have to be high comprehension to understand that this was a special moment that I created. So I just wanted to pause
Mm-hmm.
there. I love that so much.
And the way return to you threefold, so acknowledging that that love that they give comes back to you, and it does. The more love you put out into the world, boundaries, kindness, people, it comes back to you when you give. It comes back, and they feel really great in this moment. And acknowledging that amazing feeling should be recognized. So return the love that they just offered.
And I would also add that our program managers, the people who live on the front line, are the best people to be able to capture those special moments. In very short examples of those special moments of your own organization, for example, from organization who hand out quilts, is those little moments where when people first receive the quilts, they always hold it on their heart first. It's almost like hugging it to start with, right? That is a moment you can say literally this short. People hug their quilts when we first receive it in a disaster. And then people understand what the quills mean to people. Similarly, when you talk about, a girl who have experienced 10 years of malnutrition, and now you look at her holding her baby and wanting to become a nurse and take care of him. That's the background. But then you say, the soft eyes that girl has looking at her baby. And immediately you help people connect with the love that 10 years of malnutrition couldn't diminish. And so people know when they give money, what they're saving are those soft eyes of a mother for a child. And you describe a disaster, you describe a fire, you describe any crisis that's happening in people's life. And you describe how these people living in that kind of disaster experiences, and when you come and visit them, they give you a little gift from any plastic they can find in their community, a little gift of a fresh fish they caught in the river or in the ocean that day. Taste that you can't taste even in your own neighborhood. Like those little human moments. You people, you work with your community, in your community every day. You are the best people who know what those small moments are. Don't be shy to put those small moments into your writing, because they will touch your readers in the same way that they have touched you. That's how you grow love, and that's how you increase the sustainability of giving.
Absolutely. And Jen, you touched on something, a universal truth, where, when looking down into your baby's eyes, most people have experienced parenthood and that moment of connection with their child. So connecting it back to a universal truth that the vast majority of people have experienced. So like a thank you from staff, a team member sharing what support means, and often we will write it for them and they'll give a little bit. But saying, I'm on the front line, I'm handing out whatever resources, but I feel your hand on my shoulder, because I know that I'm not alone because of you. And that hand on the shoulder moment, physical, concrete, they have put their hand on the shoulder of someone they love, and in a moment of need, in a moment where they needed support. So that universal truth, bringing it back, then thinking about the moments that you have experienced where you felt loved, or you felt like you were loving. So looking at like, okay, when my mom tells me they're proud of me, or anyone, or you feel recognized for the first time,
Yeah.
those are universal truths.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Don't let your urge to having to state impact or state numbers to crowd out those special little moments of connection.
And it's really easy to be okay. Acknowledgement is, just a thank you of like the impact, but really thinking about amazing things that are celebrating community. Acknowledgement is really a wide range. And if you want to print this like a slide out and put it on your wall, I love to do that personally. So that maybe you go through one of these, maybe collect each of these stories, and then you're set for a whole year, right? And you can use these on social media, right? So in doing a social media post on the same day the email goes out, that kind of, looking at it and knowing I got the email and now it's out there and other people are seeing that I'm truly connected. So looking at this, is really valuable. Of course, putting in the thank yous within this. So algorithm is looking at the metrics that actually matter. So really, it's really easy to look at those, kind of just open rates, which are kind of broken by privacy updates and stuff. They're not always accurate. You can see trends with them, but those are kind of vanity metrics. Click rates are important because that the call to action may have been enough to get them through. So kind of looking at those buttons and what that button copy is. But click rates mean nothing without conversion context. So if you wanted them to read something, how much time are they spending on that page? Those are basic Google Analytics that you can pull. List size is great, but if people aren't opening anything, then that's actually, making it harder to reach inboxes. So making sure that that means engagement. Revenue per email, really big one. Click to donation, donor retention rate, repeat givers from emails, and unsubscribe rate, keeping that under that 0.5%. If it's going above, again, you're going to have a harder time not going to spam folders and not making into the top of that inbox. That can be challenging. So these are the algorithms that you play it by. These, this is what matters. And, piece of that is making sure that you're getting into inboxes and following the rules and the guidelines that, Gmail and whatnot have set. And just asking you to send more emails. So really important that we're looking at a schedule, and we can show you, we have some really great pieces. So nonprofits average 50 emails per year in 2025. And if you only send 6, if you're only sending every other month, you're really invisible, and they're getting reminders from other organizations. And no one, just people with values that connect, they're not generally connected to only one organization. So if you're not, escalating that, and remember those emails don't have to be long. They just have to give context and be valuable. So, and then you have that algorithm. It doesn't have to be the same thing every time. So. Making sure you're sending what other organizations are sending. Aim for 50. Of course, it's capacity. But if you're breaking down what used to be in your newsletter where you're scrambling for the 10 stories that need to fill your template, narrowing that down to one, if it's just that schedule, and then sending, the next one within the same week even. So groups sent more in 2025 and performance held or improved. Email revenue rose to 16%. So sending more does not mean you're going to make less. You're not, when people unsubscribe, it's not a complaint. They're kind of self-selecting. That means it's increasing your engagement rate with those people that are opening. So as long as you're staying under that 0.5, you're dealing with very natural churn and what everyone is dealing with. So don't stress about, oh my gosh, this email got 5 unsubscribes. The only thing that matters were those unsubscribed donors. Most people that unsubscribe were never weren't giving. So you were probably not going to convert them. They weren't convinced that it's who they are. Donors give when the moment strikes. So making sure that you're capturing that moment and in that inbox. And most of those sends aren't generally asked. Acknowledging and advocating emails earn the right to ask. So it's important to get those through. So the donor segments that matter. So first-time donors, you have to earn their loyalty. No one just deserves it. And those welcome emails when people give the first time. I don't know if you want to put in yes or no if you have a dedicated welcome series of at least 3 emails that are automated. Those are usually really standard pieces that you can add to how you're integrated, how your donation forms, depending on your platform. Second gift is the most important gift before a legacy gift. Recognizing additional gift is crucial. Any additional gift signals loyalty, and once they give that second gift, their lifetime value increases exponentially. Monthly sustainers are insider status, celebrating milestones, not amounts so much. So really making sure that you get like the 6-month anniversary, that 1-year anniversary. Those are important because they've accomplished more than just a single gift. Obviously, major donors, depth and personal connection. You don't call. You do include them. Okay, major donors get mad if they're not included on matching emails. If they got missed over, they didn't get to hear about that, unless of course they are the matching gift. You're making sure you're calling them to make them feel acknowledged. And those major donors turn into those legacy donors. Monthly donors are actually one of the big ones that turn into legacy donors, making sure they get information about that once or twice a year. A first-time gift $25 donor and a returning $5,000 donor shouldn't always get the same email. So looking at segments that are forgotten, lapsed donors gave last year, not this year. They already said yes. That's already like they've signaled that this is who they want to be. And then Colorado Gives Day and a match is a perfect reason to get that. Maybe it's their second gift. Really matches really help. And Colorado Gives Day is such a huge opportunity. They gave last year, not this year. Really great important segments to remember. Event attendees never got an ask, truly. So invite them to the mission, making the next, if it's events, theater, or making sure that mission that they attended, they're harder to convert, and that's okay. Volunteers are huge donors. Volunteers, you feel like you're asking them to do more, but they're so connected and they want to. Within capacity, there's great to mark files that that maybe they're fixed income and acknowledging that. Last year's Colorado Gives donors, they come back again and again. This is their moment. This is when they think about giving. They're hugely, if you do a segment of like last year, Colorado Gives is a day that you celebrated with the community. Like here it is again, hugely big opportunity. And obviously subscribers who never gave, they've opted in. It's what they're thinking about. And, you're thinking that maybe they're really delicate, but generally people that haven't given actually need more emails statistically to be converted. You think that you would only want to delicately play with them, but they actually need more buy-in. So Colorado Gives Day gives you a statewide moment. So they're feeling community. They're feeling like Colorado, that Colorado love. So in looking at a full schedule, looking at October as a really pre-thank you, warming your audience, and thinking about October as that, potentially list growing. If you have any opportunities, that's great. Social media advocacy, sign your name if you agree that this should happen. People should have food in the table this end of year. People should get to enjoy the theater. People should be able to see animals being rescued and not suffering, those kind of things. Sign this if you agree is a great way to be like getting that identity to start. Early giving, it's obviously never too early to give. Announce it, and the incentive fund. Getting that story and that match out, continuing to lean into it. Like here's where your heavy volume people, if you subscribe to any kind of for-profit, I like to use like Adidas is my one that I kind of follow. They give an email every day year round, and more than that in the end of year. And they wouldn't do it. These huge corporations wouldn't do it unless it made them money. They know that people are self-selecting to unsubscribe, but a lot of people stay subscribed. It makes them money. So knowing that, making sure you're getting one a week out minimum. Giving Tuesday and countdown. So it's great. December 1st this year, then every 2 to 3 days. And then the day, the thank, and the ask, so morning and evening sends thank you within 48 hours. So Giving Tuesday practice run is really great. Create 8 to 10 emails across 6 weeks, fewer, maybe than one every 4 days or not. It really depends on how your audience is responding, but fewer than one every 4 days, but twice a week won't hurt you. So consistency, but not sending an email unless it has quality information, unless it has a quality thank you, unless you can actually give that content, if you have to give something of value. Making the case for emails to your team. This is getting buy-in within the organization. So lead with the data, making sure people, there's really scared communications team that aren't on the fundraising team, and maybe your team of one. So remind yourself, more emails, steady or better results increased. So silence is your real risk. Reframe it as stewardship. The added sends are gratitude and stories. You're loving donors more. You're not necessarily asking more. Watch the right metrics. Unsubscribe being under 0.5 is healthy. It's good. People are self-selecting for engagement. Being forgotten costs way more than an opt-out. Propose a pilot, run the November 1st to December 8th cadence to show them that people are engaged and excited to participate. And of course, that's learning, so making sure you're learning heading into that. Color Gives Day works with your calendar, not against it, so fantastic. Color Gives Day, that November 1st to December 8th. Your events and Giving Tuesday is one season, and Tax Day, December 31st. People always leave it to the last minute, and really, really simple. Something from the CEO acknowledging that it's not why people give is for taxes, it's because they care, but you wanted to just give them the opportunity. Every event gets a digital layer on top, so collect gifts from those who can't afford to attend or RSVP those things. Set a fundraising goal. Often that fundraising goal can be how many people gave, not necessarily, a financial goal. It depends. Make the event the celebration of hitting it. In Colorado we give on Colorado Gives Day, are in that period for Giving Tuesday and end of year alike. So same platform, same story. Every campaign feeds the same goal. Okay, so creating subject lines, your most important part. The 80-20 rule is often applied here. 80% of your time is focused on your subject line. It's really easy to forget that it needs competence, autonomy, and connectedness. And I would add curiosity is also really a part of that, depending on it. So real subject lines that affirm the donor, thinking about that. So competence, I made a real difference. That's what they should feel. They're chirping with joy thanks to you. So when it's obviously a bird organization, any animal welfare, you are the holiday cheer this year. The autonomy, this was my choice. So this has you written all over it. Are you the answer? Really great. And then connectedness, I belong to something. 326 reasons to be grateful for you, checking in on you, talking, inviting them to more community pieces. Opening lines count too. So obviously those are shown. So making sure that it's not just the name of an image, like we said, that image underneath the copy, really valuable. And of course, like you might have in usually in your email service provider, your EST has that like preview text. That's super important. Hope you're having a great day. I want to tell you a story I've never stopped thinking about. Those are, it's personal. It feels like it's coming from a friend.
Hey, Charlie, before I
Oh,
move on to
sorry.
the next, hey, it's Jordan. Before you move on to the next slide, could you talk about the subject line versus that preview text? And I'm just asking
Mhm.
because I'm noticing that when I open emails now, it's more about the preview text, honestly, to get a feel for what the email's about. So I just wanted to spend 1 second on that, if you could.
Mhm. So thinking about the subject line is sparking curiosity so you can get them to the preview text. So asking questions or giving them kind of a little piece of it. This has you written, this has you all over it. I'm like, what is that? I have to know. And it has to giving a teaser, keeping it short, short, short. And that way leading you into that preview text having their name right off the bat. If you can do that in your preview text, really valuable to have their name in there. And this is something you can test, name without name. That's a really easy test to do. Hope you're having a great day. Or like, here's the story. What is that curiosity? Giving them another teaser about like, kind of that an unfinished sentence can work. I want to tell you a story I have never stopped thinking about. Again, a little bit of curiosity, but having them written all over it, the competence, autonomy, connectedness. They're connected to the organization because here's a story they need to hear about. So, having their name and focusing on them for the day. Maybe they're not getting a lot of emails to say, I hope you're having a great day. A lot of it is really focused on other things, but making it focused on them. So I want to tell you a story, making you can say you all over everything, says you written all over it. Are you the answer? Checking in on you. I'm grateful for you. Those are really great pieces centering them. So, and then continuing that opening lines, that preview text into giving. You don't want to not have the content that you promise them. So if this is a story, if you say, I want to tell you a story I've never stopped thinking about, it better be a story. Hope you're having a great day. Must have, more thanks into them and, hope you're having a great day. And maybe you're also sharing a story there, being like, this story will inspire you. Those are also, great to include all around. Does that help?
Yes, it certainly helps me.
Okay.
And did you have something to add?
Charlie, I just wanted to say that as you're taking a break, could we also take a few other questions from the chat box that's related? The first
Yes.
is, what do you think about having long subject lines? Do you think they lead to lower open rate? And this include both the example like they're chirping with joy thanks to you, and also the few that I shared earlier.
So in my experience, short is better as algorithmically. It's better the Gmail and such a dictator of what gets into inboxes. So, but it can also, they are chirping with joy. You have that spot, so maybe the rest gets cut off. But really, it's something you have to test looking at if you can do a 50-50 test. Sometimes they perform. It really depends. They are chirping with joy is going to get in there. You are the holiday cheer, and this year may get cut off. So knowing that end part might get cut off, but having 326 reasons to be grateful. We know that if we get that, if we don't quite get that, it's not in the preview, it's not something that they're getting, that's okay. So front loading messaging, but the often, it's so audience dependent. So you trying these longer ones is important as well. So definitely having that is a big piece.
And also I would add that I always like to encourage people to think about their relationship with their donors as a long-term relationship. And the goal is to try to almost in a way provide your donors enough opportunity to get to know you, so that when your email come into their inbox is not perceived as an annoyance or an interruption or a distraction, but anticipation with excitement. What else are they bringing to me today? I can't wait to hear from Becky again. I mean, we've got tutor. Her name is Becky Calino. Like every time I open her email, it's just like a ray of sunshine shining into my life, no matter how dim my day is. So I actually quite look forward to hear from her. And that's kind of the expectation, the excitement that you want to build with your community. So by the end of the day, it's not about what Becky is going to tell me now as much as it's Becky. She's emailing me. That's kind of what you want to build in the relationship. And then two other questions, Charlie, from the chat. How might this email schedule fit into a fall appeal strategy in which we're still soliciting around October? And this relates to the scheduling that you shared.
Hmm. So, every other email, if you can. So those are, aspirational in your schedule. And of course, like, that volume, maybe you're only doing once a month, leading all the way up to that end of year where you really lean in on the heavy to get in front of people because you have such high competition. Um, in some pieces, you really need to lean in. So if you're saving stories for that end of year, that fall appeal, so kind of mixing it in a softer ask. So asking if you're inspired by the story, you're invited to give, but acknowledging, what, and we acknowledge you that not everyone can give at this time, but making sure that you're giving soft ask and hard ask. Those should be a good kind of, if you have to get those asks out and you don't have time to really get those other pieces out, making sure you're excluding people that have already given within, the last month to make sure that they are, they're just like, I just gave is the response to those. So making sure excluding those. But yeah, that fall appeal, or you want to just ask, mix in some softer asks, will make that more successful. So those in the PS being like, if this inspired you, people read the PS. PS is a huge part. So getting that ask in the PS is going to, they read that preview text and they'll often read the PS. PS is often, they should kind of capture what the email is about, and kind of being like, the story inspiring you might get them to go back and read it. So yeah, getting those asks in the PS always if you're doing that. So making sure you're getting in soft asks if you don't have capacity or you're not sending out enough email to kind of get that cadence.
And I'll just interject here as far as like what you're doing in September and October. We, as Colorado Gives Day, understand that you're having events, you're asking people, it's back to school, it's, whatever month it is for awareness. Um, to me, and it's really that's your foundation for telling people that, of course, they can give for whatever's happening now, but also to remember, hey, P.S. Colorado Gives Day is coming up. And I just want to reassure all the nonprofits that we look at the numbers and we have other events, campaigns, large giving events that happen around Colorado Gives Day timeframe. And the great news is they are not cannibalizing giving. Meaning, if you're having a strong fall campaign, you should be inviting those people back to the statewide movement because they are already primed and likely to be a giver. So if you're not asking them back for Colorado Gives Day, they're going to give, and that is more likely that they're going to give to someone else. So I just wanted to reassure people that donation wise, number wise, when you're having significant fall campaigns, it actually helps, and donors are giving, coming back and giving more when they're also participating in Colorado Gives Day. So just a mindset shift of the cohesiveness of what your fall giving looks like, building it out and making sure people are aware of what's coming next, like Charlie said in those PSs. I think it's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
And oh,
I
sorry.
know. You go, Charlie.
I'm just thinking about it as a Venn diagram, like one, like obviously, advocacy, when you're doing an ask email, maybe folks thinking about in that ask email, focusing around the advocacy and the ask. It's a Venn diagram where they cross over. They're always going to cross over when you're sending a story, that's about connectedness, that is in an ask, right? So it's all kind of they're overlapping significantly, and that's a great way to maybe that cadence is ask all the way through, but making sure that kind of hitting that rhythm a bit, and it'll help you kind of picture like what should be different about this email if they're getting the same email over and over again, and one didn't trigger it. So thinking about each person as an individual, and one of those types of emails, one of them is more stats based. You're going to get like that segment, so it's thinking about it in different ways, that each email needs its own kind of identity, because you have to speak to people's identity, but also knowing that not everyone opens email, so they might just get one. So keeping that in mind to stay on task with your philanthropic psychology.
And this relates to the last question from the chat box, which it says, if we do our annual in-person fundraiser at the beginning of October, how would you adjust asks for Colorado Gives? So this is about multi-channel, how they come together.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So it's the same thing in that segmentation. If they just gave at the event, a monthly, if like a $5, $10 monthly ask, they've shown that they will show up in person and being like, remember the event. You're so connected, feel connected every single month. Is not the wrong thing to send them. If they did give, acknowledging that, asking givers, so doing the same email, but just tweaking it a little bit, saying, would you, this is the big matching gift, would you share this? Those ask to shares, but and they have the link to the donate, that people will give. So you're not directly asking them, you're asking them to share. So one, you could get a totally new donor, and two, they're still seeing reconnecting. So they're not feeling like that those people absolutely give again, and you're getting a bigger audience. So thinking about asking people to share, different asks from people are important. I hope that answers. Great. So which gift ratio worked best? So a one-to-one match made people significantly more likely to give, and it increased a gift size. So thinking about, Colorado Gives does that one-to-one. The ratio didn't matter if people were like, this triples your match, that actually didn't increase anything. You might capture, again, like every person's an individual. If you have seen this person only gives to that, give them, send them that one email to that one person. But generally, as a group, that one-to-one match is outperforms. So looking at emails that engage and inspire, structure emails that drive opens, clicks, and donations. Again, making sure that big one is click to donate ratio. That is one. How many conversions did you get from that email? That if that's the only thing you track, amazing. That's great. That's really one you want to look at. Maybe you got fewer clicks, but 80% of those clicks donated, like that, that is what you really, really want to focus on. Clicks are great. It's good that that person is engaged, but the click to donation, how many donations did you get from the email? Number one thing to recognize if your emails are being effective. Recognize donor impact before making an ask. So if they have given, and making sure you segment people that have and haven't given if you can. Otherwise, you have to make that wording just a little bit vaguer and like people like you. Recognize the donor impact before making the ask. So showing real results, and that can be many things. Plan your timing without overloading supporters, but supporters aren't overloaded with 50 emails a year and like a third of those coming in the window we're talking about. So really big, making sure that they're feeling connected. If you're not sending through the year, you're at the back of the mind. Everyone's sending, and we're competing, they are also doing the good work they all want to do, but to get in front of those large organizations that have more capacity. So, getting the short emails out that are really valuable about content that's happening is really important. So overloading is maybe going over 50 emails a year. So don't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm sending so many. If you're not sending, you're not getting in front of people. And then those subject lines and call to action motivate giving and curiosity. People need to be sparked when they see those preview text and those subject lines. And subject lines that feel like, oh, a friend could have sent this. Acknowledging, a lot of them are really dedicated to your organization, and they should feel human, and that gets results. So this week, if you can, bring your top 2 email improvements to the discussion forum. That's what we want to look at, about what you plan out. I don't know if you wanted to go over this a bit, Jen. Let me sure I'm not stepping on things that you want to talk about. Rewrite one thank you and one ask using identity-based language, and you can, shorten those up, make them tight. And looking at your email, so it's really easy to test your emails. You always just you send a test to yourself. Always look at it at your phone, send it to your personal email, or you have your work app on your email usually, and looking at it from your phone. More people look at their emails on their phone. You want to make sure it looks okay. If you have those bigger paragraphs, breaking them up. Having a single sentence in a paragraph is very normal now. And then build your Colorado Gives Day email plan now, making sure you're collecting stories. If you don't have content, it's so hard, just getting quotes, asking each person for one quote. You have your volunteer list, asking them, what is a moment, what's one moment you really remember for your volunteer experience? And if you had one thing to say to donors, what would it be? Those kind of things. You got those quotes, you got your great content, and you're banking it for later. So
I can talk about this, Charlie.
Okay, great.
Yeah, just briefly wanted to remind folks of some things that can help with your momentum for Colorado Gives Day. So first and foremost, we have all of the Colorado Gives Day webinars, which start in August, up, so you can RSVP for those now. And also we have all of last year's. So I went nuts last year. I did a lot of webinars. We go really deep into prizes and stuff like that. So you can watch last year's webinars. They're almost going to be, 99% accurate outside of some dates and maybe some special new things this year. The other thing to flag, and this is really important, you're going to hear me say it again, but because of the transition from First Bank now to PNC as our partner, we're going to be changing all Colorado Gives Day logos. Those are going to come out in September prior to September 15th. And so if you see anything with First Bank or 365 on your current logos that you're using for Colorado Gives Day, those are no longer relevant or up to date. And so we'll be providing, of course, everybody new logos, but just something to keep in mind as you're thinking through your entire communications plan for the fall. If there's any questions up to this point, of course, reach out to our support team, and I'm also available if you have any one-on-one needs related to coloradogives.org. Thank you guys so much for being here. I want to pause in case there's any additional questions or follow-up.
Just if you have 5 minutes after this webinar, go in and just delete all your old logos because they will get used. If you can delete them, take 5 minutes and then just go delete them, and then you won't have to think about all of this. And we all know that it's important to recognize corporate donors. This is a moment, so just go delete them now, because it always happens where you're like, oh, you search that logo and you're in a rush and it goes on. And
absolutely. Or if there's someone new at the organization or whatever it is. Yes. Don't give our team heartburn. No, I'm just kidding. We love you guys so much. This whole webinar and webinar series really was about love. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm feeling it. And I'm feeling more excited about Colorado Gives Day and fall fundraising than I ever have. Is there anything final you guys want to say? Obviously, you're going to see these great folks in Canvas starting on Friday. Is that right?
Yep, and there's a lot of appreciations, and thank you for all the thank yous. There's one additional question.